And we're back, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate that. Today, let's review Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, a third-person action-adventure game by Ninja Theory, who are also responsible for games like Heavenly Sword and Devil May Cry. In this game, protagonist Senua is on a quest to Hell to revenge the death of a loved one, but she's suffering from something that's called the darkness. Obviously a representation of mental illness, and I think that Ninja Theory deserves a lot of credits for tackling the subject matter of mental illness. There aren't a lot of games that do that, and I think it adds to the awareness that mental illness for a lot of people is a reality of life. So Senua will experience in this game visual and auditory hallucinations. But the game looks fantastic. I mean, the visual trickery to show you as a player what she experiences as through her eyes, so to speak, is just phenomenal. I mean, the colors, the flashes, the changes in the graphics, the motion capture of Senua is off the charts. I mean, it's just fantastic. I think it's the best motion capture I've ever seen in any game. The game is heavily inspired by Norse mythology, and the game world is beautifully crafted and designed. The Norse landscape of woods and wooden villages and Viking ships that seem to be thrown on the beach is just fantastic. But here's the thing. I mean, a game can look fantastic, but if it doesn't play well, then, you know, it's not that great. And as a game, I wasn't really convinced here. I mean, at least 1/3 of the game you will spend walking through linear levels. And I'm not the biggest fan of the over-the-shoulder fixed camera, since it restricts your view of what is going on around you. Also, the movement of Senua is very sluggish, even if you're running. I mean, it's so slow. And I'll describe to you guys what you actually do in this game, right? You walk for 5 minutes, nothing is happening. Then you stumble upon this lore stone, and that will give you a little story, a Norse story of gods and all that. And I couldn't care less, because sure, there's a bunch of lore, but I'd rather play the lore than listen to it, right? You walk another 5 minutes, you come to a gate. I mean, in this game there are a huge number of gates to open. Now, to open a gate, usually there's a puzzle, and the puzzle involves finding certain signs in the world, aligning these signs, and then the door can be opened. You spend another 10-15 minutes doing that. And what I do like about this puzzle, though, is that the hallucinations, the visual hallucinations, will come into play, as sometimes Senua will see things that weren't there before. So it's kind of a way to solve the puzzle. Also, the voices that you'll hear are quite irritating, but that's the point, I guess, of this game, because the voices that you will hear as a player as well are there to show you that it's a hell to have those voices constantly talk to you. But in the game, the voices actually help you. They give you tips. It's kind of a misinterpretation of mental illness, because, well, there aren't any benefits actually to mental illness. But in this game, I think it works really well. The voices will tell you where to go, what to do at times. But then you walk another 5 minutes and repeat the whole thing, right? It's repetitive. It's the same puzzle over and over again. It's also interrupted a lot by overlong cutscenes. I'm all for cutscenes, don't get me wrong. I love cutscenes. They look fantastic in this game, I have to say that. But they're overlong and usually focus on the same thing, and that's the suffering of Senua. And again, I can see why she's suffering and what is going on, but I don't have to watch it all the time. It just makes no sense, because it takes away the control from you as the player, and you have to sit through the whole thing. But there's also combat. But combat is there isn't a whole lot of combat in this game, which is kind of disappointing for me. I mean, the combat is great, though. I mean, again, the fixed camera does limit your view here, but it works because it makes the combat feel very cinematic. You see the enemies coming at you, which is great. and the combat is actually quite meaty. It relies on dodging, on blocking, on retaliating with combos of fast and heavy attacks with your sword, and it works really well. This is something that Ninja Theory can do very well to create combat for the player. And there's also something that's called focus, and that will sort of slow down time, and you can sort of hit the faster moving enemies. There's a good variety of enemies, of Norse-inspired enemies, you know, these sort of Viking types and kind of weird-looking, dressed-up wolf. I don't know what they are actually, but they are intimidating looking. There are a bunch of bosses you will fight. They're good amount of bosses. They look great. They're impressive, but again, these moments of combat are far and few between. So it just kind of boggles me. I mean, if 2/3 of the game is a boring slog, I mean, the walking and the solving of the puzzle, I just can't recommend it at full price. And if Ninja Theory concentrated on the combat instead of the walking and the puzzle solving, then this game would have been a masterpiece, really. So it's a kind of a mediocre experience, a great-looking game, mediocre gameplay experience. So that's what I think of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Let me know what you guys think. Leave comments, subscribe. I really appreciate that, and see you in the next video.